Hello and welcome to A Game of One's Own, a podcast dedicated to solo and two-player tabletop role-playing games. I'm Maddy Searle, my pronouns are she, her, and I will be your guide. Today, I will be finishing my playthrough of Dragon Dowser, a solo journaling game by Hatchlings Games. At time of recording, the Dragon Dowser crowdfunding campaign is live on Kickstarter with only a day left, so please do support the game if you can. You can find a link to the Kickstarter campaign in the show notes, along with content warnings for today's episode. Now, let's get back into the story of Lillian Ingleside and her search for a spring dragon egg. Okay, next card. 4 of clubs. A negative card. A workshop dedicated to restoring agricultural machines is destroyed by Mecharch soldiers. How do they destroy the workshop? Is anything salvageable? -3 resources. Okay, a little bit of the reminders of war here. I'll just take away those resources and be right back with another entry. Yesterday, I arrived with my little retinue at a farming village. After a hearty meal at the local tavern, I rented a room and settled down for the night. However, I was rudely awoken by a great commotion from the village square. A local Mecharch soldier patrol was passing through and had discovered the village's unlicensed machine workshop. None of the machines were a threat. They were old agricultural models that the villagers were trying to restore. But the bureaucracy of the Mecharchs takes precedence over the needs of ordinary people. They smashed the machines, confiscated tools, and burned the workshop to the ground. After the soldiers had left, I went to find out what had happened and see if I could help. Luckily, the soldiers had failed to discover the basement of the workshop, where a few machines and some equipment were left untouched. I rummaged through my belongings and found some tools to replace those that had been taken, while still keeping a few for myself in case of emergency. I hope that the village can recover from this attack, and that one day no one will have to fear the Mecharch soldiers any longer. Alright, and the next card is 5 of diamonds. A negative card. You are with a group of merchants sheltering from a spore storm when the generator fails and you are plunged into darkness. How does your mind play tricks on you? What do you do to keep everyone calm? -2 resources. Nice opportunity for a bit of spookiness there. But yeah, not so great about the resources. Alright, I'll just get on to writing that entry. After leaving the village, I came across a caravan of merchants heading to the next town, and they allowed me to join them. It was nice to have some company on the road. Of course, Kith, Kin and Hearth are wonderful companions, but they aren't the most talkative. We shared stories of our travels, our homes, and our loved ones. By nightfall, it was clear that another spore storm was on the horizon. We gathered our belongings and squeezed into the merchant's small covered wagon for shelter. As the storm passed over us, howling and hissing, the lights inside the wagon flickered and went out. The caravan's generator had been damaged, and we were plunged into darkness. I could have sworn that I heard wing beats in the storm, and the deep low rumble of a roar. But when I asked the others, they could only hear the wind. As I tried to calm myself, I remembered a song that my mother used to sing to me on stormy nights, and started to hum it under my breath. One of the merchants recognized it and began to join in. Soon everyone was gently humming the same melody, and the fear of the storm felt a little more bearable. Eventually the storm passed and we continued our journey. We should reach the next town in a couple of days. Alright, next card is 2 of clubs. Negative. A group of marauding machines obliterate one of your sanctuaries. Remove one from the spread. Oh dear, that's not good. Okay. Name one important item you recover from the debris. Why is it important to you? -5 resources. Oh God, that is me down to one last resource. Let's take away those resources and write this entry. As I said goodbye to the merchants at the town gate, I realized that one of the Dowser sanctuaries was only a day of travel away. I was longing for some sense of familiarity during this long journey, so I gathered up the hatchlings, called Hearth to my heel, and set off. To my shock, when I arrived, it was in ruins. The telltale tracks of Mecharch machines in the dirt told me everything I needed to know. They don't want to live alongside dragons. They want to control them, and anyone who thinks differently must be crushed. I scrabbled through the broken stone and splintered wood for anything that may have survived the devastation. At last, I found a pendant on a silver chain inside the remnants of a broken chest. I recognized the pendant instantly. It was a pale green stone, encased in a tangle of silver fronds, as though it was overgrown with metallic vines. My mentor, Frederica Dryston, had worn this pendant when she was teaching me about dragon hatchlings more than a decade ago. I held the pendant tight and hoped that she was safe. Then I fixed the chain around my neck and began walking back towards the town.
Okay, I'm completely out of resources because I just used my last one to move. So if this is a positive card, then I can keep going. But if it's a negative card, then I'm done for. So let's see. Queen of Clubs. It's a positive card with +4 resources. So I could keep going for now. You construct a makeshift incubator from machine parts to cover for a female summer dragon while she goes foraging. How do her adolescent children react to the peculiar device? What does the female bring back for you in return? Ooh, that is so freaking cute. And I get more resources and I can keep trying to find the ace. Okay, great. I'll be right back with another entry.
Over the past few days, I have taken a pause in my journey to help a female summer dragon take care of a newly laid egg. She doesn't have a partner and has 3 adolescent children to feed, so needed my help in keeping the egg warm while she went foraging. I managed to find a broken machine not far from her nest, and with my somewhat reduced selection of tools, constructed a makeshift incubator from the fragments. I had to test it a few times and reconfigure the design to make sure it would work, but eventually it was functional. As I installed the incubator in the nest, the adolescent dragons were deeply curious. One was brave enough to touch it with its nose and instantly pulled away, startled that it was warm. Another started tapping it with its claws, and I gently tried to distract it with some food. That always seems to do the trick. Eventually, the dragon seemed to lose interest in the incubator, and I was able to watch over it in peace while the mother dragon went foraging. When she came back with food for her youngsters, she also brought me an odd-looking device that she must have scavenged from a nearby ruin. On closer inspection, I realized that it was a spyglass. I communicated my thanks with a formal bow and left the dragons to their new arrangement, hoping that the new addition to their family would hatch safely while I continued my journey.
With 1 resource spent on movement, I've got 3 left, and I'm on the Jack of Clubs. This is a positive card. Good. You form an alliance with a group of rebel mecharch machines and rescue a juvenile summer dragon from a group of soldiers. Why have the machines switched sides? How does the confrontation play out? +3 resources. Cool. Ooh, I like this. This is very, very cool. I'll add on those resources and get right back.
I made a startling discovery a few days ago. I found a group of mecharch machines hiding out in a cave, attempting to set up some kind of camp. I watched from a distance and heard them talking amongst themselves about a dragon that had been captured by a group of soldiers. They were clearly planning a rescue mission. I emerged from my hiding place and approached, asking the machines what they were doing. After I had assured them I was not affiliated with the mecharchs, they told me their story. They had been constructed by a brilliant engineer who had been forced to work for the mecharchs against her will. She had hidden in the machine's programming certain protocols which would activate and allow them to rebel against their commanders after a certain trigger. In their case, the trigger was the capture of a young summer dragon by the soldiers in their unit. I offered to help in any way I could, especially considering my knowledge of dragons. After extensive planning and preparation, we decided to strike the soldiers' camp at night. The machines created a distraction so that I could creep in and free the dragon. In the clash, the soldiers inflicted serious damage on many of the machines, but I was able to cut the dragon free of her restraints, and she flew off into the night. Seeing that we had been successful, the machines retreated and managed to lose the soldiers in the dense forest nearby. When we reconvened at the cave the next day, I did my best to patch up the machines and gave them my heartfelt thanks.
All right, next card. Let's have a look and see. Ooh, it's the Ace of Hearts. Yeah, I've won. I found the egg. Excellent. This is amazing. Okay, what do I need to do? I need to get back to one of my sanctuaries with my remaining resources. I've got one of them has been destroyed. but the other one is still around. I've got 6 resources left. 4 spaces to get back to the sanctuary. So I have succeeded. Woo, excellent. Once you return the egg to a sanctuary, you have completed your task, but we want you to add one final journal entry. Imagine what it would be like to rear the hatchling to adulthood, the years of bonding, the training, its eventual freedom, its reaction to the war, and Praelar's tyrannical rulers. Okay, I'm going to enjoy this one. All right, be right back with my final entry of the game.
At last, I found it. Tangled in weeds, bobbing gently in the water of the Sapphire River, was the most perfect pale blue egg. I carefully pulled it free of the weeds and held it in both hands. The elation I felt was overwhelming. With the help of the dragon we had saved from the soldiers' camp, I brought the egg back to my sanctuary and placed it in one of the incubators. One day it hatched, and a small sapphire blue dragon took her first breath. I named her Hope. Everywhere I went, Hope went with me. I encouraged her as she learned how to fly, with Kith and Kin leading the way and Hearth running to catch up on the ground below. As she grew, she became even more fiercely protective of me than I was of her. When Hope was old enough, we travelled across Praelar, helping people and dragons wherever we could. It pained me to expose her to the destruction of war, but it only made her more determined to protect others. After a decade or so of this nomadic existence, I received a summons from the other Dowsers. The time had come to storm the capital with our dragons and end the Mecharch's tyranny once and for all. Tonight is our last night at the sanctuary before the battle. Of course I am scared, and I don't know what horrors the Mecharchs may unleash on us, but I know that Hope and I will fight to the end. Now that's all the time we have for today's episode. Thank you so much for listening to A Game of One's Own and my playthrough of Dragon Dowser. And don't forget to head to ko-fi.com/snazzytapier if you want to support A Game of One's Own and get fun extras like shoutouts and behind the scenes content. See you next time.